Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is your host Majestic speaking with some brand new content updates for you guys in MechWarrior Online here. And first and foremost, just to let you guys know, it is now live. The skill tree public test server is now live for you guys to go out and check for yourselves. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be going through the details of exactly what this skill tree entails, and then we're actually going to go into the public test server and actually show how this, this whole new tree and new system, this new way of thinking about customizing your mechs actually comes into play. We're not going to go through actual battles or anything like that. It's more of an informational video for you guys just to understand the mechanics, what's involved, how it works. Just in case, you did have any questions on it, you read the announcement and you're like, I'm just going to wait till it comes out. Well, now hopefully this video can explain all of this to you. So if we dive straight into it here, the structure of the public test. So you can only do quick play and or group play in 4 versus 4 matches. So if you're in the group queue, you have to be in either a 2 or 4 person group, or if you play in quick play, you will only be on a 4v4 match. So, as soon as you link up, I get it why they're doing that, the 4v4 versus the 12v12. A lot of people aren't going to download the portal and mess around with it before its actual release into the live game. But for those who do, they want to shorten up the sample size, kind of just give the people who really want to mess with it and figure out exactly like how the mechanics work and what we're here to expect and everything, just a little bit of a taste of what it's like in actual combat. And by reducing the sample size, it decreases the queue times and so on and so forth. You can get out there and experience more faster before its actual release on the 21st. So mark it on your calendars, ladies and gentlemen. It's coming into the game very, very soon, less than 2 weeks. So just keep that in your mind there. And the big other thing to take away from this particular bullet here is that every single public test server account will be boosted with MC and CBIL currency as well as premium time to aid with the testing. I believe you get, 2 billion C-bills, 2 million, 2 million XP, GXP, what is it? Yeah, you get 2 million, you do 2 million MC, I'm sorry. And then 2 million GXP, and then 2 billion C-bills. So they give you an astronomical amount to work with, so that you can really mix and match with the nodes and understand how it works and pretty much figure out how you actually really want to build some base models for your favorite mechs, the ones that you really like to take out in the game. Now, we're going to dive into the rest of this, but I just want to keep you guys in the loop with that. That is fantastic that they injected that amount of MC, C-bills, and GXP for us to mix and match with. I think that's definitely going to make people be creative, with exactly how they want to build out their mechs and tinker and tamper easily with it. So, it's not just injected in the game and then you're spending tons of XP, GXP, C-bills, MC, whatever the case, before you even really understand the mechanics of the new system. So I can certainly appreciate that. I'm glad that they did this so that we can test it out. It's not like live conditions, of what your current live MechWarrior Online account has. But one thing I also wanted to point out is that they do inject your live account mechs into the public test server up until the Bushwhacker. So it is extremely recent. All of your paint schemes and everything are going to be placed on the public test server. They don't show up as an icon in the Mech Lab, but once you click on them, it will be, your custom fit and your paint job and everything that you placed on there, along with, your loadout, the loadout that you currently have. So whether you have 1 or 5 of the same variant of a particular chassis, you will still have your loadouts on there. Now, okay, so the design principles of the skill tree. The thing that they wanted to kind of get away from were specific mechs and specific variants having particular quirks that cater to 1 or maybe 2 different types of play styles. And now with this kind of unlimited customization that you can do, that really does play a part here in why this actually came to pass. So it's reducing the variant-specific quirks to a particular chassis by allowing us as the players to completely customize our mechs from the ground up with the weapons we want, with the builds, with the engine sizes, with the quirks and everything that we want as MechWarrior Online pilots, which I think is fantastic. I really, really like the direction that this is headed. They're trying to phase out of the specific quirks for the variants, so you will see some variants in game that do still have weapon or structural bonuses, and then you can add on top of them in the skill trees and everything, but they're trying to fade it out gradually. So I completely understand that. I really do appreciate that they're phasing out. It's not just like, it's all gone. This is it. Here we go. But I'm really curious to see where this goes as well. It all depends on how they do it, not if they do it, because we know it's happening. But how they do it is more of a question to me at this point. But I'm very optimistic about this. It's something all of us have been waiting for a long time. I'm very excited about it. So I'm definitely looking forward to not only messing around more in the public test server queue, but also once it's implemented into the game, sharing some loadouts and quick tips and everything that I would take into consideration. If I were you guys as MechWarrior Online pilots, just starting out in this new system. If we scroll down, inherent quirks in the new skill tree. So again, this is just talking about current quirks that are in the game and how they overlap on each other, and they'll just boost. So, like for example, they give an example down here: 10% torso speed skill bonus and a 10% torso speed quirk bonus will result in a 20% overall boost to the base torso speed. So it's just showing you how these things kind of just stack up on top of each other. How they break it down in the glossary is so they have the skill tree, which is the whole thing in and of itself. Then you have a branch. So in the branch, you have the ultimate. They give an example of the ultra autocannon skill branch. Then the skill class is the fact that the ultra autocannon skill branch is part of the firepower skill class. So the branch is part of the class. Okay, that's one thing that you just want to keep in mind. Now, when you look at the skill subclass, so it says that the ultra autocannon skill branch is part of the ballistic subclass, a subclass of firepower, which makes sense. So then when you look at the skill node, it talks about, if you're using UX or even just autocannons in general. They give the example of the UX Velocity 1 skill node with the Ultra Autocannon skill branch. So it's underneath the autocannon skill branch, you have the Velocity skill node in there that you can unlock. Now, the ways in which you unlock these, I'm going to go through these first before we dive into the skill points. You have XP for a particular type of mech, general XP that you can apply to any mech, and then historical XP. Quick notes about each of these. So XP is XP that you accumulated with that particular variant of that particular chassis. And what's awesome about this, it's a blessing and a curse in some way. You're going to get refunded for all of that XP that were placed on those particular variants and those particular mechs that you guys have. And you're going to get all that XP back for that particular chassis. Now, if you have more than one of that same variant, okay, if you have, let's say, for instance, I have 2 Hunchback 4Gs, okay, and I have 100,000 XP. I could split them however I want. With like if I had 100,000 XP overall on that variant, I can put 50,000 on one of my Hunchback 4Gs and 50,000 on another one of my 4Gs. But once you make that decision, once you commit that XP, you are locked into it. You cannot, convert it back over and put it on your other 4G or vice versa. So this is what is going to accumulate in the new system. What I was speaking of here is the historical XP. So this is all of the XP that you accumulated with that particular variant of that particular chassis. So they're just going to dump a big number based off the amount of XP that you accumulated on a particular variant for that chassis, and then it's up to you to decide how much you want to allocate towards each if you have multiple of the same. GXP, we all know what GXP is. It's just, you could apply it across the board. You could do whatever you want with it at any point in time. And it's applicable across any mech. So it's very valuable. You don't want to spend a lot of it. If you can avoid it, definitely do so. But in particular, what this is doing is it's, again, making you focus on one particular loadout and one particular role for each of the variants of a particular chassis that you have. So, I can make a long-range Hunchback 4G, or I can make a Brawler 4G like they currently have until the patch update comes with the AC-20 in there, for instance. Now, I'll talk more about that, and that's the mech that I'm going to be using in the public test server, by the way, so I'll just go over that once we get there. But the skill points is the other thing that I wanted to mention to you guys. There are 91 available skill points, and essentially what that means is across all of the branches. So every single skill branch, whether you're going for firepower, survivability, whatever the case is, you have 91 points that you can spend and unlock. Okay? So, for a fully mastered mech, I'm going to dive into the conversion costs and everything like that. For a fully mastered mech, you have to utilize all 91 points. And you can mix and match wherever you want. That's what makes it so great, is the customization there. You can pick and choose exactly how you want your mech to be outfitted, which is perfect. So you put on particular weapons that you think would work well with it, you fill out the tree accordingly, and there you have it. Obviously, there are going to be some mechs that work better than others, but that's the whole point of this public test, and then taking it into the real game so you guys can experience it for yourselves. Now, right here, there is what I was just about to dive into. The skill tree economy. To unlock one skill node, you have to spend 100,000 C-bills and 1,500 XP. So obviously, as you guys can imagine, that is going to run up the tab very, very quickly. If you're trying to master your mechs very quickly and everything like that, or spend a lot on them, you're going to have to spend 9.1 million C-bills to master every single mech. Now, we are getting all of our modules and so forth refunded, back to us. So we will have a huge, injection of C-bills based off the amount of money that we spent on modules and everything. But it's still a lot when you think about it, because 9.1 million C-bills to master every mech, and then if you screw up, you have to spend 25,000, I forget what they call it, respec your mech. So each node costs 25,000 C-bills. And, and I believe there's XP that goes along with that as well. I'll get into that in just a second. But then you're also, not only spending 9.1 million C-bills, you're spending 136,500 XP. Every single mech you mastered. So every single mech that has 91 skill nodes filled out on it, you're spending 136,500 XP in order to do that, along with 9.1 million C-bills. So as you can imagine, that is going to add up very, very quickly. Especially if you have multiple variants that you want to, or multiple of the same variant of a chassis that you want to master. You're looking at like 18.2 million, and then almost 300,000, 272,000, something like that, 273,000. So it's just it's a lot. It's going to add up to a lot. So just be prepared in that capacity. You can perform a full respec, which means that you'll just clear out everything. You can only use one type of currency to perform a respec, so you can't use a combination of MC and C bills. You have to use like one or the other for a particular node, or if you do a full respec, then you have to do all of the same currency for that particular respec. You can't say, well, for the half of the nodes I want to convert using XP or using CBills, and the other half I want to use MC. Just not going to happen. You can do individual node respecs, in which you're doing each one individually, and you can use either MC or CBills for that. So it does give you that option here where you say, like, I want to choose 3 individual nodes and spend CBills to respec them, and then 5 nodes using MC to do that. So then it says, upon completing individual node respec of all the XP spent originally required will be returned to that specific mech variant as mech XP, regardless of whether you use GXP. So keep that in mind. It's not going to convert back to GXP if you use GXP to unlock particular nodes. It's going to come back all as mech XP for that particular mech in that particular variant, which I get. So that's just making me, let you guys become more and more aware. Be careful with your GXP and how you spend it in the new system, because if you decide to, respec or anything like that, or switch anything around, you're chewing up a GXP and you're going to run through it very quickly. So just be aware of that. Yeah, that was the main thing. Just you can only use one type of currency to remove a single node. Okay, so that's really the big thing that I wanted to talk about node respecs. It's I get it, and it's going to add up to a lot. So that's why I really highly encourage everyone to go download the public test server, mess around with it first to figure out at least a base of where you want to start with a majority of your mechs, and then move on from there. But that's to be said once we get into the actual public test server. Okay, so here we are. Skills: firepower, survival, mobility, operations, and infotech. So they break it down here, and I'll leave this up on the screen for a second, but firepower, so it breaks it down by, the ballistic types that you'll have. It does not have machine guns on there. So you have autocannons, ultra autocannons, LBX, Gauss, energies, laser, pulse lasers, and PPCs. Does not include flamers. And then missiles: LRMs, SRMs, streak SRMs. It's no narc or anything like that, as you can see. So I'm guessing that'll be installed maybe later in the game. But then you move on to survival, which is all defensive quirks, so like structure bonuses, armor, stuff like that. Mobility, so stuff to do with the arms and your legs, and the upper chassis, lower chassis, and jump jets. So jump jet, capacities and everything like that. Upper chassis, like arm pitch rates and arm speed and everything, and the lower chassis deals with speed tweak and all those kinds of stuff. We can dive into that in a second. Mech operations, infotech, that's all mech or operations is mech operations. Infotech is your sensors and auxiliary. So we'll dive into those once we get into those trees and everything. But now they actually break it down, and just so you guys understand, we're going to see all of this when we actually go to the public test server. But just as an overview here, autocannon cooldown for the inner sphere. So when you see a cooldown per node, it's 1% for the inner sphere and 0.8% cooldown for the clans. So that's per node. So it's not going to be like if you hit the cooldown, it's only going to be 1%. It's every time you hit a cooldown node for either one, whether you're looking at inner sphere or clan, it's either going to be a 1% cooldown reduction or a 0.8% cooldown, depending on if you're using inner sphere or clan. Same deal with energy, or the energy weapons. Again, you have 2%, or this is for range. So first off, range, you get 2% for the inner sphere, so 2% bonus to range, 1.6 for the clans. Laser cooldown 1%, and then 0.8 again, and then heat and laser duration. So heat is 1% and 0.8%, so that's like heat generation. So you can reduce that heat by this particular percentage, and then duration. So the duration time that the weapon is actually fired and everything for -3%. and then 2% for the clans. So it just breaks it down kind of granularly. This also goes for the pulse lasers. So as you can see, with the pulse lasers, you're looking at 2 versus 1.4%. That's the big difference there. And then really that's the only difference between regular lasers and the pulse lasers is the range for the clans goes from 1.6 to 1.4. Everything else between regular lasers and the pulse lasers stays the same. Then if you look at the PPCs, PPC cooldown, same as it applied before for the cooldown, but then and also actually the same for the heat as well. So no change really for the PPC cooldown. And then you look at the missiles, and again you have the cooldown for the LRMs and SRMs the same as it was with the ballistics and the energy weapons. You know, the 1% and then the what's it called? The 1% and 0.8%. That's for LRMs and SRMs, and then streak SRM range increases for the inner sphere by 2.5%, and that's kind of a big deal when it's only it's plus 2% versus 2.5% for the clans. That's pretty big. So that's definitely one that I'm going to be keeping an eye on. And then streak SRM cooldown again remains the same at 1%, and then the 0.8%. Streak SRM heat is also the same, 1 and 0.8%. Now, survival. Okay, survival is actually pretty interesting, and this is the one that I'm probably going to be focusing up the most on, just because it gives you skeletal density and armor hardening. So it just shows the different weight class tables. Now, one thing that you want to focus up on here is it does not break down between inner sphere and clan mechs. Okay, so keep that in mind. So a lot of people, you know, it's definitely going to benefit both sides, more so the clans, because skeletal density, you know, regardless of whether you're using a heavy inner sphere mech or a heavy clan mech, you're going to be able to apply this density per node 5% to any clan heavy. So kill times are certainly going to shoot up once this this new system is actually in the game. So, you know, and that applies across every class. So when you're actually working through the survival tree and you're applying skeletal density and armor hardening per node for every single one of these weight classes, you're just increasing the amount of time it's going to take for them to kill you across the board. So I'll show you more about that once we dive into the server. But very, very key here is that it does not decipher between clan or inner sphere. So expect longer kill times, longer, you know, more focus maybe on objectives once, you know, as the battle unfolds, as opposed to, I'm just going to kill everyone and focus on the objective next, because if it takes a long time to kill your opponents now, people are going to be thinking twice about going for, you know, all the kills if they might run out of time and your opponents are, you know, capping in conquest or leading in domination or something like that. So you just have to take all this stuff into consideration. But I think that this was huge in looking at this defensive skill tree. Mobility, again, you know, we're looking at an inner sphere clan split. So as you look at the torso speed, obviously does favor heavily into the inner sphere versus the clans that are only a percentage of what the inner sphere is going to be able to do. But the clan tech is just overall better, you know, at the current state of the game. So, you know, I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to balance them out completely. So you're starting with a clean slate, and now it's up to you to decide how good or how bad your inner sphere and or clan mechs really are. When you look at operations, so operations is actually kind of an interesting one as well, just because you can increase the ballistic magazine capacities. So as you can see, this is they do give like a little bit of a breakdown, you know, as to what this actually means. So, you know, magazine capacity per node. So, you know, for instance, autocannon 2s or clan autocannon 2s, you get 10. Magazine capacity for the autocannon 5, you get plus 5 if you increase the magazine capacity. Whereas with the clan autocannons, you get plus 10. So that's 5 times 5 direct damage. But with the burst of the clan AC5s, you know, it's definitely it's definitely more in favor for the inner sphere, just because that's direct pinpoint damage to particular components versus the the burst fire that you'll be getting with the clan mech. So damage for damage, point for point, ballistic shot per ballistic shot. You're definitely looking more in favor of the inner sphere here for actual pinpoint damage of where it counts. So as you can see, if it says that you increase the capacity size, for instance, if you look down here at Gauss, that is big. They're the same across so 2 Gauss is 2 Gauss. It doesn't matter if you're clan or inner sphere. But pretty much it just wanted to point out that with the burst fire, increasing the magazine capacity in this case, you're looking at that burst kind of spread fire. Each specific pellet that's shot out of your autocannons is going to be doing only a percentage of damage versus the direct pinpoint damage through one shell in the inner sphere ballistic. So that is just a little bit of an insight into the operations category. Now, if we look at Infotech, it talks about like sensors and everything and auxiliary, so we'll dive into that. But as you can see, it does not break it down by inner sphere versus clan. So, it's, and you wouldn't expect it to, because these are all pretty generic. Sensor ranges and target info gathering. It just shows what the node percentage change is per weight class. So now that we don't have quirks, or we do have quirks, but not as many, because they did take a majority of them, or a lot of them out, I should say. Now we kind of get it. So, target info gathering isn't a module anymore. That's a node that you actually have to unlock in the skill tree. So that's just kind of coming to the realization of what this is doing in the game. So now it shows how you can actually navigate through the skill tree, which I'll show you guys. We don't actually have to go through that. It's kind of a waste of time. Just shows, actually how it works. So you can focus on UAV duration and then the range, and UAV duration or range, and completely avoid the capture assist, nodes if you want, if you're just focusing on your UAVs. So that makes your UAVs more durable. It makes their range that they actually detect mechs, exceed what they might have, or what they originally were in the game. So it's a very great system that they're implementing here. More and more I think about it. Skill compatibility alert pretty much just tells you they're compatible with your mech's current loadout, but you might have to switch some things around in order to do so. Skill restricted alert means that your mech cannot do that. So if you're looking at the 1X and you're trying to look at missile nodes, it's not going to work. There are no missile hardpoints on that mech. So that's the difference between the two. Whereas if I had say the 4G, which has missile and ballistics, and I only focused on the ballistics, it'll have a skill compatibility alert for the energy nodes. And then it just gives you a quick little example here. But this is how it works with the interface of how everything is converted. It explains to you how you're transferring historical XP, and that's exactly what I was talking to you before about. So they give the example. So you have 2 Spider 5Ds, and you had 100,000 XP or 50,000 XP, and then it says you could transfer 25 into Mech XP for one, and then 25 HXP into your Mech XP for the other. So that's what I meant by you have the general historical XP for that particular variant, but if you have multiple of that same variant, you can pick and choose how much of that Mech XP you want to allocate towards each of the same variant. So I think that's definitely pretty interesting. One thing that I did want to talk about here is so the HXP transfers are permanent. That was one thing I mentioned before. You can't reverse that transfer. But here they show that the Battlemaster 1G and the 1GP, in the original skill tree system, they were treated as duplicates because you had the 1G and then the P edition on there. And they treated them as duplicates. So they share the same skill tree. But now under the new skill tree, even those very, very specific, the P right there, Under the new skills tree, you are now able to set distinct skills for all of your mechs in the position. These two mech variants are now considered distinct. So now they are not the same simply just because of that P versus the 1G regular one. So you do have to take that into consideration. All the loyalty variants and stuff like that are obviously going to be their own variants, but if you have particular ones like the 1GP, it's going to be distinct now. And I think this is what they were talking about, just like converting that over and everything. General balance changes, so they talk about like component health, and then they show like just how the differences with the components and the component HP of how it was and how it's going to. So this is previously how it was, and this is how it's going to be going forward. So if you guys want to check that out, you're more than welcome to. I zoomed in here on the screen so that you guys could really see it. I didn't want to make it too small so that no one can actually view it. But they made some changes, specifically the Jenner, then the Black Knight, the Timberwolf. Those are the big ones, and those are, well, actually they're the only ones. So if you want to check those out, you're more than welcome to. Target info gathering, base short range target info time gathering increased from 2 seconds to 1 second, 4.5 to 3 for mediums, 7 from 5 for the large range target info gathering. So, target info gathering time can be reduced through the skill tree. That's the whole intention there. So you have to spend, your nodes, your skill points in order to unlock those particular aspects of the tree. The ECM, I think that's kind of a big one. The base range of detection scrambling from 30% from 75%. The remaining 45% is now unlocked, which you have to do through the skill tree. Then if you're looking at targeting computers, again, you guys can read through all those. That's kind of a big one, but it just shows how the bonus is reduced. The targeting, the crit chance bonuses are all reduced. They're all reduced across the board here, and that's pretty much the main takeaway. Ballistic weapons. Jam chance duration increased to 4 seconds from 3. Bonuses to crit chance have been removed, so definitely take that into consideration. You don't get a bonus anymore essentially if you ever do your crit chance. What was I going to say? Yeah, bonuses to crit chance have been removed, and then jam chance duration again is just increased. So those are the main two takeaways, and that's only applicable right here for the Clan U Act 2s. So, you don't have to worry about it entirely, but, for boating the Clan U Act 2s, whether that's on the Hunchback 2C or the Nightgear, something like that, that's the only thing that you have to worry about. But let's move on here. We'll look at the Gauss rifles. We have the Gauss rifle is only allowed to provide a single critical hit. So you can't do more than one. And critical damage dealt is now reduced by 50%. So huge. And that is applicable across the board for the Inner Sphere and the Clan. Energy weapons, critical damage dealt reduced by 25%. So a lot of, with these particular nodes and the skill trees and everything like that, it's extremely customized. And now you're going to have these very, very tanky mechs out there. And you're going to have like critical damage reductions in, how much damage is actually being inflicted, which is going to increase the amount of time that mechs are lasting out there on the battlefield, which is definitely a blessing and maybe for some of you a curse. SRM4 and Clan SRM4 spread is now increased, which makes, Artemis probably more understandable for the SRM4s, because there wasn't a very big spread. When firing off one SRM4, they're pretty tightly packed. The SRM2s and the SRM4s, you needed Artemis. But then you look at the 6, and you definitely wanted to have Artemis on there. But now they're making it so that the SRM4, the spread is increased, so Artemis will probably become a thing for the SRM4s. LRM5, so the spread again increased there, and the damage. The range decreased to 900 from 1,000. So that's only for the LRM4s, both Inner Sphere and Clan. And then the 10, 5, 15, 10, 15, and 20, again, the range reduced to 900. So they are no longer at 1,000 meters of range. So you're going to have to get in a little closer, boys, if you're going to launch your LRM boats. Just keep that in mind. And then you have the, all the FAQ stuff down here. So in case you do want to ask or have any questions or you're just unclear about anything, please feel free to post all of your comments, questions, concerns, or suggestions below. I will answer them as best I possibly can based off my understanding so far of it. If there's anything else, you can go into the, FAQ and everything and ask there. You can go on the forums. Maybe someone else has a little bit better understanding. I think I did a pretty good job going through everything here, but now I think we're going to go into the actual public test server so you guys can see exactly how this works out. Now if I go, I'm going to turn that down a little bit. Now, as I said before, I have my Hunchback 4G here. And my Hunchback 4G, it already has enhancements on there. So like I said, they did not remove all the quirks from the game just yet. And as you can see, it still has the ballistic cooldown 10%, the, the Inner Sphere AC 20 cooldown 10%. So that's a 20% bonus to the cooldown. And then if I go through the skill tree and add more onto there, you'll see all of this change. And it will be applicable immediately. So for instance, I did the 1X, there it is. So now look at my enhancements that I placed on one of my 1Xs. So I just placed a whole crap load of stuff on there that are applicable, specifically to how I built out this mech. I put on, medium pulse lasers, the 6 medium pulse lasers. So that kind of limited what kind of offensive nodes I wanted to fill on the tree because I'm only using pulse lasers. So that kind of gave me a better handle on exactly where I want to spend and allocate my extra nodes that I was already thinking about. But we're going to start one fresh. We're going to go with the 4G, and obviously with these quirks that are still on there, without me even touching the skill tree, I feel like this is a great place for you guys to see exactly how this pans out. So I'm going to go into the skill tree itself. And here is the layout. This is what it actually looks like. Now you can click and drag, you can move all the way over, and it's pretty extensive in how long it goes. But you can scroll out. You can with the scroll wheel on your mouse, so you can easily get to the other side. And then you kind of just pick and choose, exactly what skills that you want to, place on this particular variant of this particular mech. Now, as you can see, like I said before, you have 2 million MC, 2 billion C-bills, and 2 million GXP. So they really want you to, and what I recommend is using the GXP because otherwise you have to do the conversion, with the regular XP, which is just, annoying in the public test server. So first and foremost, I know that I'm going to be using that AC20 because the AC20 quirk is still on there. So what I might want to do is, so I'll go through the AC. I really want to get all of the cooldowns full. So what do I want to do? Do I want to focus on velocity or range? I'm going to focus on velocity, so I can only fill out this half of the tree if I don't really care about the range at all. So every time I add 1 percentage point there, no, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 AC or AC20 cooldown percentage points there that I'm adding. So, and as you can see, as you allocate each of these points, it shows you how much you've spent already, so you know how much you have left. Now that is the primary focus of this build, is that AC20. Now I'm going to fill out the rest of it just for the intents and purposes of the video. Filling out a full tree in this case took me 15 points. Okay, and as you can see with the UX, it looks like it's a little bit more extensive than that. Just because you add that jam chance reduction in there, those 5 nodes. But no, you can pretty much figure all this kind of stuff out for yourself. It does show all of the other ones, and that's what I meant by the skill tree, like this little hazard sign here. Is I can place a UAC hardpoint on there, or an autocannon, or a Gauss rifle, but I don't need to. It's pretty much just saying this skill tree is open in case you want to use it because those hardpoints for those particular weapon types are available. Now, if I look at laser, that's what I'm using. I'm using mediums, and then you have pulse lasers, PPCs. You cannot place Lerms, SRMs, or streaks on there because this mech does not have any missile hardpoints. So that's why you see the red hazard sign. Now I get towards the defensive quirks, and this is what I was talking about. You definitely, for me personally, I know probably every single one of my mechs is going to have this tree full every single time. Just for durability and staying alive out there on the battlefield. So I will say that automatically. No, I don't need AMS overload. I want fall damage reduction, armor hardening, fall damage, armor hardening, skeletal density, fall damage. I'm pretty much just avoiding the AMS overload. Because I'm never going to use AMS personally, so for me it just seems kind of useless if I were to add that on there. Save 2 skill points and apply it somewhere else. I also am focusing on mech operations. This I definitely want to increase in every sense of the tree. Cool run. Hill climb, I mean, you don't have to do, but I want to make it easier to get to these. So I will do it. It's only 1 node, and I didn't use 2 nodes on here, so I can use one of them here to get to this part of the tree quicker. If I wanted to release that, then I would have to go through it this way. And even then, you can't go back up the tree once you've gone past the node. So that's another thing to point out there. Is you have to unlock every node to get to that node that is underneath it in order to make sure that you can unlock it. So I'm unlocking everything. Quick ignition, heat containment, speed retention, heat management, cool run, and there you go. That last one down at the bottom, magazine capacity. If I'm using ballistics, which I am for the AC-20s, might want to use another node on that. So as you can see right there, I'm at 52 skill points, which is great. I mean, if I want to, expand off that, I might do a couple on here where I might do like let's see, arm speed and torso speed. I'll try and get to those. Arm pitch, arm speed, arm pitch, arm pitch, torso pitch, arm pitch, torso speed, torso speed. Yeah, I'll just, I can fill this thing out pretty much almost entirely. I do want to have all of these. Kinetic burst, turn rates, definitely. Kinetic burst, hard brake. So as you can see, just filling this entire thing out, I definitely want to fill out speed tweak, and the only way you're going to is once you get to the bottom portion of this, lower chassis branch here. So, as you can see, I'm at 86, and then I can really pick and choose what I want. I can either go with, what's it called? There's no jump jet capability, but I can go with, target info gathering or sensor range, or if I have UAVs and I want to focus on those, I can do that. As for me personally, I'd probably, let's see. Yeah, I might do maybe a little bit of target info gathering, so 5% bonus. And I might even just leave it at that, or if I were to do it, I'm not going to go in advanced zoom. Or I could do this. I could do target decay, and then target info gathering 3. So now I have a 15% bonus to target info gathering. I spent all my skill points, but I have a 15% bonus to target info gathering. I have all my mech operations full. My entire lower chassis is filled, so I have all the speed tweak options. Upper chassis, I have my torso pitch, arm pitch, and everything. On the further side of the upper chassis, defensive quirks completely full except for AMS overload, and then my primary weapon is also fully loaded. So I'm really focusing in on that autocannon, and again, I'm really focusing in on the defensive durability, structural, staying alive pretty much type of quirks that I want to have on this mech. Now, if I do apply the changes, I can either respec the skill tree, which will just wipe everything away, and if it were live, you would actually have to, spend the XP and everything, or the C bills and so forth. So as you can see, there you have it. 136,500 GXP was spent, and 9.1 million C bills were spent. So once I do, if I do revert the changes, it'll just go back to the way it was. Respec the skill tree is just, you can pick and choose if you want to, or you can completely wipe it. And then here you have it. Hunchback 4G historic XP, so I can convert whatever portion of it I want here to this particular variant of my 4G, or I can send it to, if I have another one, I could split it. But I'm going to apply the changes here, and now that it is saved, if I go back to the Mech Lab, check out that enhancement tab. Jeez, that thing is fully loaded to the T. And it shows pretty much everything. So even though I'm not using an AC-10, it does show that my capacity went up. So it says capacity +1. Not that big of a deal in this case. Obviously, it's going to become more impactful when you're using AC-5s, even 10s, and AC-2s, when that extra magazine capacity will just add more bullets simply from a ton of ammo. So that's definitely something to take into consideration as well. But it just has a ton of quirks that cater to it now, and I think that that's pretty neat. It's custom. It's 100% custom to exactly how I want it to be. And now I can go into the actual gameplay and play with it for myself and see how it works out and make some tweaks if I need to. But that's the whole point of the public test servers. If I do have tweaks or anything that I do want to make, I can revert back and fix everything, change up the nodes, so on and so forth, and just mix and match until I did perfect this particular variant of it, at the expense of C bills and GXP and so on and so forth. But at least I know, it is catered exactly to how I want it, and that the 4G, in this case for right now, because there are still quirks on it that do cater to that AC-20 for now, I know that one day when all these quirks and everything are removed, this is completely going to be customized to myself. Simple as that. So there isn't going to be a benefit to using a 4G versus a gridiron. I mean, technically. So, if they do keep certain quirks for particular variants in the game, I think they will. I'm not sure if they are planning to eliminate everything completely, but if they do leave some of the mech, weapon quirks on there, obviously they will cater specifically towards how you build these particular variants, but we'll have to see how PGI plans it out. But that's going to do it for now. The following videos after this one are going to be all related to actually going into the public test server so you guys could see it. And maybe the first match I'll actually just take out the 4G so you guys could see how it performs and just see how the quirks and everything are affecting this mech and how it runs on the battlefield. Extremely durable. I've already messed around in the public test servers. Just be prepared. You have a ton of time before you're dead now with all these structure bonuses and everything that you could add on here. And really have fun with it. Customizing these things. You thought it was customized before with what weapons you placed on your mechs. Now, the possibilities are limitless. And once this is released, you guys are going to have enough content to feed you for a lifetime with everything people are going to come up with now in regards to MechWarrior Online content. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative and you got kind of understood everything. I ran through it kind of quick, but I just wanted to give an overview. If you have any other comments, questions, concerns, or suggestions, again, please feel free to leave it in the comment section below. I hope that I can answer any kind of questions that you have. If you want any opinions or anything, or you just want to ask a question to me just in general about what my opinions are so far, I really am loving it. I'm absolutely enjoying the crap out of this new system in the public test server. I'm really having fun with it. I know it's going to take a lot of C bills and GXP and everything once it's actually released in the game, and it's going to burn a hole in my MechWarrior Online account pocket, but I'm still excited about it nonetheless, and it does give you something that you want to kind of strive for in completely altering and customizing your mechs 100% to your liking to play whatever role you want. So, and it makes multiples of the same variant useful again. You don't have to do the same thing with the same exact variant. So that's another added bonus. But Again, that's going to do it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, check out the links in the description. I really do appreciate all the support that you guys have given so far. I hope you're enjoying the new skill tree. You know, mess around on the public test server. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much again for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you all on the next one. Take care, guys.